Mr. Chalitha Perera. Mr. Chalitha Perera has 8+ years of experience in data science and currently works as the lead R&D engineer in ArithmixAI. He holds an honors degree of Bachelor of Science of Engineering from Department of Computer Science and Engineering, University of Moratuwa. During his academic year, his team won the gold medal for Best Student Research Project undergraduate category at CGO 15 ACM Student Research Competition. He is a conference speaker on semantics and open source contributor since 2015. Thank you, Mr. Chalitha, for taking time off your busy schedule to be with us here today. So, without further ado, I'm pretty sure our audience is looking forward to a very interesting session. So I will now hand over control to you. Mr. Chalitha, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, so before we start, in case I got disconnected, that means there's a power cut. Don't worry, I'll join again. Stay patient if that happens. So let me share my screen. Can you allow me to share the presentation, please? Okay. I hope everyone can see my screen.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, so without further ado, hello everyone. In this webinar, I will give you an overview of what is data science and the career opportunities associated with the field of data science. Rather than going into the depth of each and every concept in detail, here the idea is to cover the breadth of data science concepts. Basically, this webinar has two main parts. In the first part, you will learn about what data science is and the data science process that you should follow when you are working on a data science project. You will also get an understanding of the set of buzzwords that usually associated with data science, including AI, machine learning, and big data, and how they are related to the field of data science. In the second part of the webinar, you will learn about career opportunities in data science, including different types of job roles, the skills you need as a data scientist, and how you should go about in acquiring these skills in order to be successful in the field of data science. So first of all, what is data science? When it comes to data science, the management is often interested in applying data science to each and every project, hoping that it would help them to generate more revenue. Others think of it as some kind of a magic or black box where you will get answers to your question. In a sense, it's true that with the correct application of data science, you can gain lots of insights and answers to business problems. And it even has the capability of predicting the future based on the data. But as you will see, there's a lot going on in the background, and several different pieces need to fit together in order for a data science project to be successful. So when it comes to defining data science, there are many definitions, and you shouldn't be hung up too much on the definition. I think the best way is to understand data science is to understand the process of data science. That's what we will do mainly in this webinar. For now, let's simply say that data science is the process of extracting knowledge from large amounts of data. Before moving to data science, let's try to understand some of these terms. This is one of the areas that in which someone new to the field usually get confused a lot. So what is AI? AI is about designing and building intelligent agents that can act rationally. To put more simply, it's about doing the right thing given an environment and set of possible actions. So this is like a very high level definition, and AI is actually a really big field, and it includes many different aspects, including logic, reasoning, and learning. When it comes to machine learning, people often confuse AI with machine learning. They usually think AI and machine learning are the same thing. But actually, machine learning is a subfield in AI that deals with improving performance based on past experiences. So keep in mind that AI is a larger field and machine learning is only a part of it. Again, deep learning is one of the words that you are hearing in recent years a lot. When it comes to deep learning, it's actually a machine learning approach that uses multiple layers of simple adjustable computing units called neural networks. Currently, deep learning provides the state-of-art models for most of the machine learning applications. Moving to data science, data science itself is a separate field. It certainly has some overlap with AI, but it's itself a separate field. Data science uses machine learning in certain steps in the data science process, but it also has other steps that don't involve AI at all, such as building data pipelines and managing data. Let's also look at how big data relates to data science. Big data actually provides an answer to why data science has emerged as a separate field. If you take data analytics has been there for quite a long time, but data science is relatively new field. I think the term data scientist is only first popularized in 2008. It mainly has to do with the big data movement. When it comes to data, we refer to structured data such as relational databases or data that can be found in Excel sheets as traditional data. And this data is often not large and can be processed using a single computer. When it comes to big data, we refer to the very large data sets. And these data sets cannot be processed or analyzed using traditional data management techniques such as relational databases. And these data, usually you need to have distributed mechanisms in order to process big data. There are three key characteristics to big data, often referred to as 3 V's of big data. Those are volume, velocity, and variety. When it comes to volume, these days we are working with huge data sets that includes terabytes or even petabytes of data or even bigger. And these data can take many different formats, both structured and unstructured. We have to make use of text, audio, video, and streaming data, and some other data formats as well. So that's what we refer to as the variety of data. And the third characteristic is the velocity. That's how fast these data are generated. With social media and other content sharing platforms, data is currently growing at a very rapid rate. Another area that contributes to big data is IoT sensor data, which is generated in a quite fast pace. Other than these three characteristics, there is often another one called veracity. That means the quality of the data. It refers to the, that means the quality of the data you're collecting is also very important. Big data and data science are two fields that complement each other really nicely. Let's move into the process of data science. So in order to understand the scope of data science, the best way is to look at the process. At a high level, it consists of 6 main steps as shown here. Please keep in mind, even though it's shown as a linear numbered one here, it's usually a highly iterative process, meaning that you will often need to go back and forth between these steps. Okay, So as with any other project, you start with a goal. It can be a business or even more research-oriented goal. In the second step, you will have to collect the data, and then you will need to pre-process and prepare data for later steps. In the fourth steps, you will need to take a little deep view into data sets, often referred to as exploratory data analysis. Only in the fifth step, you are going to build machine learning models that answers the problem that you have set for yourself. In the final step, you need to present your findings to stakeholders in a very simple manner so that they could understand. Now let's take a look at each step in a little bit more detail. As with any project, you need to have a clear understanding of goals when you are starting a data science project. In this first step, make sure all the stakeholders understand what, why, and how of the project. That is, what is the expectation of the company, why the management is investing in this research, and how you are going to perform the analysis. There are several outcomes in this step, including you need to have a clear research goal. You need to understand project mission and the context in which the project operates. Also, you need to define how you are going to perform your analysis. What resources do you need for your analysis? Also, you will need to provide, in some cases, you need to provide some proof that this is an achievable project. You need to have some idea of the end deliverables and measures of success, and what are the KPIs you will be using to measure the outcomes of the project. And finally, a timeline. So once you have a clear understanding of the goal, you can move on to collecting data. When it comes to collecting data, it can be both internal and external. If first-party data is available within your company, you can start there. You can also check with external data providers and see if you can find suitable data sets for your analysis. Currently, there are like many external data providers, both third-party paid data providers and open data providers such as Kaggle datasets, IUCAY datasets, and data.gov. When you are collecting data, you also have to be mindful of the ethical side of things as well. So keep in mind the ethical side of things. You need to collect data that you can only have access to. In this step, it is also useful to have some kind of simple quality checks in order to prevent error propagation to further steps. For example, a simple quality check would be to see if data points extracted matches the number of records in your database table, to make sure that you are collecting all data, you are not missing out on any data points. Ideally, checks in this stage shouldn't take a lot of time, because in the next step you will be spending a lot more time in correcting those errors. So it's very likely that the data you collected has many inconsistencies, errors, and in general, you can't directly use the data that you have just collected for modeling purposes. Data pre-processing is one of the most important steps, and one in which you are going to have to spend a considerable amount of time. Since tomorrow's webinar is going to be specifically on this topic, here I am not going to cover the pre-processing methods in detail. Just to give you an overview, usually in the pre-processing step, you will need to clean, integrate, and transform your data. When it comes to cleaning, the goal of data cleaning is to make sure you have error-free, consistent data for later exploratory analysis and model building stages. Here, you will need to fix errors that could have happened from data entry, identify and handle missing data points, fix any inconsistencies, and even remove outliers. Your data might have come from many different sources, and it might have taken many different formats, such as text documents, Excel sheets, or even database dumps. So you need to integrate these different types of data before the analysis process. This often involves joining and performing set operations and creating database views. So when you have cleaned and integrated your data, you often have to transform data into formats that are suitable for modeling. Different types of analytics algorithms require data to be in certain different shapes before modeling. For example, you may need to convert categorical data into numerical values before applying some of the machine learning algorithms. After you have pre-processed your data, it's time to get much deeper understanding of the data you have. So usually it's much easier to understand information when it's presented visually. So here you will use many data visualization techniques from like simple line graphs to more complex graphs like Sankey graphs to understand your data better. Here you will explore how different variables in your data related to each other. Like you have to do like correlation analysis in data exploration. In addition to that, usually you can use simple data modeling techniques like k-means clustering if it helps to understand data even better. So now you have done all the hard work in collecting, pre-processing, and exploring your data. It's time to go ahead and build the machine learning model that answers your research problem. The type of model you are going to build is highly dependent on the problem and the data you have. So at a high level, we can say that machine learning has three different approaches, that is supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. Supervised learning is supervised learning is used when you have labeled data. Let's say, for example, you have a set of emails labeled as spam versus not spam. With supervised learning techniques, you can build a machine learning classifier for spam detection. Unsupervised learning is used when you don't have labeled data. Reinforcement learning is quite a different approach. In reinforcement learning, the system learns to make optimal decisions in a given environment in order to maximize a given reward. Reinforcement learning is only currently used in only very, very specific problems. You will often use supervised and unsupervised learning approach in your model building rather than reinforcement approaches. Finally, you need to present your findings to stakeholders. This is exploratory data visualization. In the fourth step, we use exploratory data visualization techniques. And in the last steps, you need to explain your research findings to stakeholders. Here, ideally, you should be able to tell a story with your data and findings to stakeholders. So that's another different skills, data visualization skills that you need to master. In addition, often in this final step, you will need to automate the process that you have just followed to some extent. Sometimes it's better to, if it's possible, you should try to automate the whole process. If not, at least some parts of it, because the data is usually highly dynamic and tend to change. So you will need to follow the same process when the data changes. So it could be in months, days, or weeks, or even in days' time. So some level of automation always helps. I hope now that you have some understanding of what data science is and the process of data science. Now let's move into the second part of this webinar. Let's have a look at data science as a career opportunity. we take a look at the Glassdoor ranking for past few years, the data scientist as a job ranks within top 3 for past 5 years. As you can see, it also has a very good median salary as well in US job market. Even in the Sri Lankan market, we have seen that there is an increase of demand for data scientists recently. There was only a very few companies doing data science 5 years ago in Sri Lanka, but now there are a lot more companies. But to be honest, when you are considering a data science as a career, you should never limit yourself to a Sri Lankan market. It's much easier to find a good position abroad than you think with data science. Let's take a look at the different job roles often associated with data science, other than the data scientist. This diagram is called data science hierarchy of needs, and it's actually another representation of the data science process that we just covered. Logically, we can separate job roles depending on the position of the hierarchy. At the bottom of the hierarchy, we have roles like data engineer, data infrastructure engineer, who mainly work on building data pipelines and collecting and storing data. In the middle, we have the role of data scientist, who work on data preprocessing and exploration steps. And at the top of the hierarchy, we have machine learning engineers, who work on building machine learning models. But practically, these roles largely overlap. And often, as a data scientist, you are responsible for the whole process. So rather than when you are looking for jobs, rather than looking into job titles, you should be focused on job descriptions a bit more. And more often than not, a job description includes responsibilities for the whole data science process. Okay, so let's take a look at how you should go about starting a career in data science. Data science is a field that overlaps mathematics, statistics, programming skills, and domain expertise. When you are starting, you need to focus on improving your skills on mathematics, statistics, and your programming skills. But in the long term, it's the domain expertise that will make you different from other data scientists in the field. You will gain domain expertise as you work on a certain field for a long time, or working with certain types of data for a very long time. For example, if you are working with text, documents, natural language data a lot, you can specialize in the field of natural language processing. As a data scientist, you should know how to code. And it's essential to learn at least one of the 2 main languages used for data analysis, that is Python or R. My personal preference is Python or R, because Python allows you to build more enterprise-ready applications compared to R. Also, it will help if you know some Java as well, because Java is quite often used in distributed computing a lot. And additionally, you will need to improve your skills on databases. You need to know about SQL data and how to write SQL queries, how to handle databases, relational databases. And you should also get some familiarity with NoSQL databases. And there are a lot of NoSQL databases. But first, if you can get familiar with the concepts associated with NoSQL databases, you can learn any other new technology quite easily. Mathematics and statistics provides the foundation for machine learning. And as a data scientist, you should have a solid background in basic mathematics and statistics. When it comes to maths and stats, this is one of the areas that most newcomers tend to ignore. It's so much tempting to jump to latest machine learning algorithms such as deep learning and start building models straight away. But keep in mind that data science and machine learning and even AI is really a fast growing, highly dynamic industry. And without basics, you will find it hard to keep up at some point. If you have a solid background, it will be much easier to learn new concepts quite easily. So I highly recommend you all to get some familiarity with basic mathematics such as linear algebra, especially linear algebra matrix handling, and calculus, basic calculus, probability, and statistics. Khan Academy is a great platform to learn mathematics. So if you are not already using Khan Academy, create an account there and it's free, and you can learn a lot from Khan Academy. When you have a good understanding of mathematical concepts, move into learning machine learning algorithms. Andrew Ng's machine learning course on Coursera is probably the best course there for machine learning. So it was there way back in 2013, like when I got first started. And that course has helped me a lot as well. You will also need to get familiar with the different machine learning frameworks, starting with scikit-learn. The other libraries mentioned here, Keras, TensorFlow, and PyTorch are mostly deep learning frameworks. Do not start with these libraries. Your first priority is to learn scikit-learn. And there are many libraries associated with other Python libraries associated with scikit-learn that helps you manipulate data and numerical computations such as NumPy and Pandas. And you should get familiar with those libraries as well. And finally, it's about keep practicing. You can't be a data scientist without the practical experience. So get your hands-on experience working with real-world data science projects. Kaggle is a wonderful platform that allows you to learn, practice, and participate in data science competitions a lot. So everyone should create an account in Kaggle and start participating in these competitions. So even you might not be winning any money first, but the experience is what that matters the most. And Kaggle has like a really helpful community, and use it to your advantage when you are learning. And finally, we have included few resources for anyone who is interested in reading more into the detail about data science related fields. The first two books, Artificial Intelligence, A Modern Approach, and Machine Learning by Tom Mitchell, is a more theoretical books that will introduce you to the concepts of AI and machine learning. And the other books are more practical. The last book is really important. The Hands-on Machine Learning is probably the best book to learn machine learning. It's a hands-on approach. So with this book, you will learn both theory and the practical aspects of machine learning. And I highly recommend to keep in at least a PDF version of this book. So, so that concludes this short webinar. So I hope that you all got something out of this. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Chalitha, for that very interesting session. I'm pretty sure our audience had a lot to gain from it, just like I did. We will now be opening up a Q&A. Please feel free to ask any questions that you have on the chat below, and I will read out the question. You can even use the raise hand option if you want to ask the question yourself, and I will call out your name. Please feel free to ask any questions that you may be having. So, Mr. Chalitha, we have our very first question. It is, sir, I am doing business analytics course at Moratuwa campus. Can I enter the data science field? What qualifications do I need to meet for that?
Okay, so business analytics has some relation to data science, of course. So if possible, it always helps to have some, if you can do a master's or anything related to data science field, go ahead and do it. But even without that, if you have some background in computer science or analytics, you can get started with data science. So these days, anyone can. So I already provided many resources, and these days with internet and web, there are many resources, and then you can start self-learning a lot. Actually, when it comes to job positions, these days companies are not really looking into degrees a lot. It always helps. I'm not saying it's not useful. It's definitely useful to have some kind of degree or master's in data science or in a related field. But even without a degree in those fields, you can enter into the field of data science quite easily these days. Use the platforms like Kaggle to get hands-on experience, and you will find a lot of opportunities there as well. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, Mr. Chalitha, thank you for that answer. I would like to urge the audience again to ask any questions that you want to ask without hesitating. We have another question, sir. What are the available professional qualifications for data science?
Okay, so in Sri Lanka, I think the IT department in Moratuwa is doing MSc related to AI. So I have seen many people doing that and coming to the field of data science. And other than that, there are a lot of online courses these days that help you get some qualification, get some certification in this field. Coursera has many, including Andrew Ng's machine learning certification. There are many other resources from other universities as well.
Thank you, sir, for that answer. Sir, we have another question. Sir, I have been interested in data science for a while. I have read few articles that data science is saturated. Is this true? And if so, how can I adapt to it?
I wouldn't say that it's still a saturated field. It has the data science demand has gone down a little bit compared to last few years. It's true. So if we take a look at the Glassdoor rankings, up to 2020, it was the #1 ranking job in US, but now it's dropped down to 3. But that doesn't mean the data science as a field saturated. The thing is, so you need to invest some time to gain the domain expertise. Then you can actually differentiate yourself from other data scientists in the field. So when you're first getting started, it might be a little harder to land a good job, but don't get discouraged. Use these open platforms to your advantage and build connections through that, and you will get an opportunity eventually. And in Sri Lanka, it's now only the data science is taking off as a field compared to US or even Europe. So within Sri Lanka, I have seen a lot of demand for data scientists recently. So it's not certainly saturated in Sri Lankan market at all.
Okay, sir, thank you for that answer. Before I go on to the next question, I would like to tell you all that we will be taking a picture later, and the background for the picture will be added onto the chat. So please download that picture and put it onto your background so that we can take the picture later. So the next question is, what kind of basic degree do we need to have to enter data science field? And also, do we have opportunities in Sri Lanka?
I think I just answered this question before with the previous two questions. Again, so anything related to the field of computer science, mathematics, statistics would help to get started in data science. So you can start from there. So I think the University of Colombo has many studies in mathematics and statistics, and even Free Java University has a MSc in statistics. And actually, I think it's the data science one there too recently.
Thank you, sir, for that answer. So the next question is there any internship opportunities available in Sri Lanka, usually for undergraduates to get involved?
Yeah. So I think currently there are some opportunities there. So I think even the Octave would be interested in interns. And as a company, even ArithmixAI itself, the company that I am currently working on, is invested in a lot of data science, and we are happy to provide opportunities to interns as well.
Thank you, sir, for that answer. So the next question is, can data scientists' job replaced by computer algorithms?
For now, I don't think so. For a certain number of years, I don't think it will replace a job, data scientist job. You will still need to follow the process that I have told you. There can be some kind of automation, but it's only going to help out the data scientists in the process. It's never going to, the AI is never going to replace the human completely. I don't think that would happen.
Thank you, sir, for that answer. So